is Stan for What It Takes Radio and TWIT Talks today. It's Friday, and we're going to talk about a number of interesting things like some people make empty threats. That's right. Don't fall for empty threats and be ready because right now, the performance economy is right now. Here's the story for the weekend.
Greetings, friends, family, listeners, viewers, maybe a few foes. And someone said, well, why do you say that? Well, let me just give you a quick transformation twit wisdom. If you seek to do well, if you seek to really be helpful to people, all right, and that hopefully is most of you, you will have some foes. Now, they may be not anyone who's listening to this program, but keep in mind that the history of the ages and the spiritual wisdom will tell us that whenever you're trying to do good, there will be foes. There will be people who may try and oppose you. And there will be forces and spirits and organizations that may try and oppose you. And so remember that you are always a little bit under threat if you are really trying to do well. And particularly if you're trying to do well to help others do well. Just something to keep in mind. I also just simply want to remind you, it's very interesting in this shutdown that there are a variety of things happening where either side is making what could be a little bit of a threat. This will happen if, this will happen if. And that's rather interesting. One time someone asked me, because I was very upset about something that they were doing, and I was affected by it. And I told them what would happen if they continue to do that. It wasn't terrible, but I was, and they said to me, Stan, are you threatening me? And I just simply said, no, this is not a threat. This is a promise. I'll do that. Well, that also reminded me of an empty threat of many, many years ago. And let me just give you a few, this is kind of funny, but I shared it with my wife and she said, you never told me that story. She said, good for you. Well, here it was many, many years ago, and I was teaching school, high school. And I don't know what the situation is now, but back in the 1970s, when I was teaching school, particularly high school, smoking was a big issue. Smoking was cool. Smoking was in. And so a lot of the kids who were in the rebellious mode, part of the way they expressed that was to smoke. Well, of course, then smoking in school, or getting away with smoking in school, because obviously it was illegal, except for the teacher's lounge. And that's another story. I cannot believe it, but we called the teacher's lounge the blue room because you could smoke in the teacher's lounge, and many did, and the rest of the other people just had to put up with it. It would never happen today, but that was true. Boy, I'm old. And I had lunch duty, and I often got assigned lunch duty. It means you had a supervision duty. That means you could supervise a study hall, which would be nice, or something like that, or supervise a library hour. That would be nice. But I oftentimes got the lunch hall supervision. And I went and asked the principal, I said, well, why do you keep doing that? That's hard work. And he said, because you're so good at it. I said, you mean if I wasn't very good at it, if I just kind of was sloppy about it, you'd probably assign somebody else? And he thought about that and said, never thought about that. Well, that's what I often was in the business of, catching the smokers and then dragging them down to the principal's office, and they were suspended or for a day or two, or maybe if it was a first time, they were simply giving a strict warning. But if they were chronic, boom, they were out for 2 or 3 days, and their parents had to come and pick them up because it's against the law. It was against the law to do that. Well, one time when in class, one of the girls that I knew was a smoker. I mean, you could even smell it, but I knew she was. It was about 20 minutes toward the end of the class, and I had just finished my presentation, my lectures, and now I was giving them some time to study, and even if everything was done, to simply have a good time of visitation, as long as it wasn't too loud or noisy or doesn't disturb. I tried to keep a friendly, even classroom. I really did, even though I was pretty strict and pretty tough in those things. And one of the little gals came up to me, who I knew was a smoker, and she said, I got to go to the bathroom, Mr. H. That's who I was, Mr. H. Got to go to the bathroom, Mr. H. And I said, no, you don't. You don't have to go to the bathroom. The break's going to be in 20 minutes, and you can go then, but you just want to go and have a smoke. And she's, no. I won't do that. I said, no, you're not going to go to the bathroom. And she said, well, if you don't let me go to the bathroom, I'm going to pee right here on the floor and you'll have to clean it up. And I looked at her and said, that's a deal. If you pee on the floor right here, I will clean it up. And of course, all of a sudden she realized what she had said and what I had said to her threat. And she just glared and walked back to her seat. Yeah, be careful about the kind of threats you make, because what could happen oftentimes is that they could backfire on you. And perhaps in this shutdown, some of the threats may have a backfire effect on who you are and what you're doing right now. So I simply point that out. Also, can I remind you of a video program which if you'd like to know more about it or see about it, I've done it. But I simply say this. Are you in the business of simply selling sugar water? Are you in a business in which you're simply selling sugar water? Now, some of you know the story about Steve Jobs and his question to John Scully. You want to spend the rest of your life selling sugar water. And the problem is a lot of people really are just selling sugar water. If you'd like to know more about what that means, go back to one of my programs or talk to me about it. But just recently, yesterday, I told the story of Peter Hegseth. And well, there was quite a response to it. A lot of people commented on it. And it was not either a defense of him or a critique of him. It was simply an analysis of his wonderful, and he has very good presentation skills. It was a master class in communication, particularly leadership communication. But here's the point that I wanted to make is this is true for all of us. We've talked about, the experience economy, the transformation economy. For everybody, this is now the performance economy. I just recently put together a program because a lot of people who are writers and authors are having a hard time selling their books. Books will never disappear, but they will change profoundly. We are actually in the business of changing books, B-O-O-K-S, in the business of changing them into B-O-O-X, which means they are an experimental, expanded version of what a book might be. If it goes well, I'll do well. If it doesn't, well, I've been there before with experiments and different attempts. But the point is that if you want to sell a book, you're going to have to do performing. Right now, in the economy that we're in, here's the 4S deal. If you want, you're going to have to, if you want to be successful, okay, here we go. You're going to have to be storytelling. You're going to have to be streaming on the video. You're going to have to be selling. And of course, that has to be a part of your strategy. You have to be storytelling, streaming, and that's performing. And then you have to be selling, and then you have to be that as a part of your strategy. And so right now, I've spent over 45, 50 years performing on the radio and learning how to be a performer in terms of the economy and the business we're in. And you'll have to do that too. It's going to be difficult. Of course, one of my writer friends says, but Stan, I'm an introvert. I just want to write books. And I said, yes, keep writing books, but you're going to have to also become a PA. And he looked at me and said, what's a PA? You're going to have to become a performance author. You're going to have to learn how to get in front of the camera, behind the microphone, on stage, and you're going to have to be good at giving a presentation, performing. You know, Dale Carnegie said years and years ago, and by the way, we're doing an update on the Dale Carnegie book. He said at that time, his clue was there, you better learn how to be a public speaker if you want to make good friends and, in effect, you know, win friends and gain influence. Well, that's still pretty true because speaking is a performance. But it's not only speaking in front of people, it's speaking on the streaming media, which now dominate the whole world. They really do. And so, something to think about. In all of those arenas, maybe I can help you. Particularly, I know I can help you if you decide that you want to become a performer. You're going to have to learn how to perform because we are now living. If you want to make a living, if you want to build a business, if you want to do well, it is indeed the performance economy. I'm done. Just a few moments, 10 minutes of clarity here on the TWIT Talks. Have a good weekend. Think about these things. For many of my Jewish friends, I hope Yom Kippur went well. And now I'm going to challenge my Jewish friends. Okay, the new year is here, and I celebrate it with you. What are you going to do differently so that next year at Yom Kippur, your life will be considerably different and better? No guarantees, but there are ways to seek ways to improve your odds of that happening. All the best. Blessings to you. Till next time. For TWIT Talks, bye for now.